I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is Andrew O'Donnell, founder of Market Mindset. Thank you so much for joining me online today. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Charlotte. It's been a little while. Of course, I'm always watching Investor News Network, great content, and it's always great to be chatting with you again.
It is really nice to be back with you. I was looking back to our previous interview. It was in mid-2022, so it definitely has been a little while. We have a lot to catch up on. One of the things I noticed about that conversation is we were talking about turmoil in the markets. And I'm sure when we were speaking, it was feeling pretty chaotic, but that's really only intensified. So tell me about what you're seeing in just the general markets right now. Is this going to continue in your view?
Yes. I mean, I don't see a lot of positive overall thematic news as far as the overall economy or anything of that nature. I don't know what the big impetus for that change will come. The thesis is that when it does, it'll happen fast. But at the same time, I'm a big follower of like Ray Dalio, who thinks we're in it. We're definitely in it, but we're in the actual contracting phase. We've got more pain to go. I would, because I respect his opinions and his depth of knowledge, I'm more to lean on that side, that we're starting to recognize the pain. It's going to go on for a while. But that's why we don't focus on overall market metrics that so much. Like, we're interested in specific themes that we see are in this shift, whether you want to call it a shift or a great reset or whatever you want to call it, whatever makes you comfortable. We're focused on specific companies and specific areas where there's an opportunity to still make money, even if overall markets are down.
We're going to go into a lot of those niches that you have found that work right now. But first, I want to mention gold, because, gold tends to be the obvious choice when we hit scenarios like this. And we did see this past week, gold briefly up past 2000. So that was quite significant. But to me right now seems like a time when you want to own gold, not necessarily be buying gold. You want to have already had it. So tell me about what you see coming for gold, how investors may want to play it from the gold angle.
Always a big fan of gold. And when I started, I certainly wasn't a gold bug, but circumstances dictate the solution. And right now, gold it's got its historical value. Everyone that watches Investor News Network knows the perspective from our kind of view of media newsletter writers is that gold has value. It just does. And we're seeing that as the case. And as things get more uncertain, as there's more bank failures, as there's more issues out there, people flock to safety. So gold, it'll fluctuate, but once again, you want to own some. I mean, you just do. I think there's a huge opportunity also for gold companies. Like there's a metric there that I think ones that are finding good results, that have a strong thesis. There's a lot to be said for some of those, in the next short term, as well as the next couple of years. So gold is always something that we like. And certainly we talk about it on the channel a lot.
Definitely. And certainly, hopefully everybody has their gold at this point. Now,
Yes.
If we look at this transition idea, one of the big themes right now is the energy transition. And copper is one of the metals that's kind of at the forefront there. And I know that we've talked about copper before. With copper, I think that there are some concerns at the moment about if we go into a recession, either at the country level, at the global level. What does that mean for copper? So maybe tell me how you're looking at the copper market right now.
Well, copper is certainly tough because we've got a lot of threats of nationalization in some of the countries that are very well known for copper. Determining like where it's coming from, who's developing the projects. It's not as easy as one used to think. Also recognizing that 50%, I think, of the copper use was China alone on their ambitious project with their One Belt, One Road initiative. That alone, never mind the infrastructure that's required for the US, is going to put a lot of issues at stake. But also right now, on top of that, we have the cost of capital. So the cost of capital now is very high. And of course, we're seeing that being an issue with some of these banks as well, not only with their bond portfolio kind of laddering that was not done very well. We're facing lots of issues with interest rates and funding big projects. So we've got this unique situation where we know we need a lot of these resources, but at the same time, you go, well, who is going to have the capacity to borrow money at large lengths to get huge projects going?
So we really have a supply-demand crunch building there, and it doesn't look like we can avoid that.
We can't, and at least, I mean, there's some good with this infrastructure bill from the US. We're seeing a lot more recognition from the Canadian government as well to look to mining projects. That's a huge sign. I think the public, when they see government start acknowledging these things, that's a very good sign. If they start promoting it, I think even if we have overall down markets, which you certainly could, and for a year or two, you could still have the mining sector up significantly higher because it's so small, like it really is. And for how small it is, how important it's going to be is it's a very interesting and unique situation, let's just say.
Yeah, definitely interesting thoughts on copper. And if we talk a little bit more about this energy transition idea, in our previous interview, you spoke about the agriculture sector and you were starting to look at fertilizers, which was really interesting to me because of the food security situation. So before we were doing this interview, or speaking offline about how you see basically another opportunity connected to fertilizers, which is the role of phosphate in lithium iron phosphate batteries. So these batteries, we've been hearing more and more about them, but most people are talking about the lithium angle, of course, right? Because that's kind of the interesting battery metal. So tell me about how phosphate fits into these batteries, because I think that that is something that people probably don't know as much about.
Yeah, that's the unique situation that came across my my desk last year, was that you can use high grade phosphate and beneficiate it up to a high purity concentrate. But it requires not only a type of rock, but it also requires this high grade. There's not a lot of places on the planet that have that. And Quebec is fortunate to have two projects that do have it. And we wanted to see, yeah, in one way, it's like, okay, you're using phosphate, which is absolutely critical for fertilizer for food, but it also has this auxiliary benefit of you can use it towards LFP batteries. And we were speaking too that it's hard to see with batteries. You see so many out there. I mean, there's such a wide variety that just to keep up to speed on who's at the forefront of the best battery, that you want to see, well, who's going to actually apply some of this. So the LFP batteries are being used by Tesla Model 3s. And the big news, and what helps with like these two companies specifically in Quebec, is that Ford announcing the LFP battery with CATL that's going in. It's a $3.5 billion plant. That's huge. So, but it begs the question, well, where are you getting your high grade phosphate that's purified, and how is it going to get purified and whatnot? So there's a company, First Phosphate, out of Quebec. Quebec is big on the whole battery energy play, and they're able to they had metallurgical results with high grade phosphate, which is important. But more important than that, or just as equally as important, is that they signed an MOU with Prayon out of Belgium, and that MOU came a week after their IPO, and that's huge news for the company, because it means that they can now focus on this business plan of not the fertilizer, but on beneficiating and creating this necessary LFP battery quality phosphate.
Okay,
Sorry, phosphoric acid. Sorry.
Phosphoric acid. Okay, really interesting. So I think we all know at this point that batteries require really specific types of materials, right? So they have to have exactly what they need at the right specifications. So that's what this company is working on. Would we see a larger producer of fertilizer maybe try to take advantage of this opportunity, or how would this work?
Well, yeah, like companies like Nutrien, they have high grade. It's just that their market is very much fertilizer. I mean, and they fluctuate, and we need to have these big companies, whether it's potash, whether it's phosphate. All of these companies are required in order just to make fertilizer. But to have a company that's specifically focused just on the battery side, that's what makes, say, First Phosphate so interesting, is that its business model is entirely not even looking at the fertilizer, but just saying, we're going to focus on delivering the right chain of custody with the right partners, so including Prayon, to be able to get this high grade phosphate, put it to use, get it up to the right grade, and then be able to deliver it to, say, and this is Ford speaking in very it's not saying it's going to get done, but to be able to deliver it to, say, a CATL plant. That's what we're looking for. And we see more and more battery plant makers, including VW, looking to Canada. So we see this building up, but it still begs the question of where are you getting your lithium? Where are you going to get your phosphate? And some of these issues haven't been answered yet. And I think we both know how long it takes to get projects up and going, that we're kind of behind the 8 ball. And I think when you have this speed of meeting goals that people want to meet, is we need to really have the messaging from top down and get also, mom and pop investing in projects that are helping to create and make the solutions that are, solving these issues that we're all kind of working on.
Makes a lot of sense. And so this is one situation that you've unearthed with your research. Are there other areas that you might want to comment on right now related to this green transition that we've been speaking about?
Absolutely. I mean, people have heard me talk to death about the helium and the hydrogen with Desert Mountain Energy. And of course we do. And that's something we do kind of behind the scenes in our subscriber section. But the other one is cement. So, and it ties in with fertilizer. And I luckily was down in the States at FarmCon in Kansas, talking to farmers, not only about fertilizer in general, but about these unique situations in the fertilizer space and whatnot. These all kind of mixed together, is that people don't realize that cement is about 8% of all carbon emissions. If you considered it a country, it'd be second behind China. So if you're concerned about climate change, and you say you're Canadian, the car factor is almost a non-starter in comparison to just cement. And we're fortunate to do a lot of like series as well with people like John Hikeway, who's exceptionally knowledgeable in this space, where we talk about taking a bigger bite out of these huge emitters and solving some of that rather than trying to make foundational changes of the things that may not have as big an impact. And if you can solve some of the cement issues, that's a massive, massive goal. And that's exactly what Progressive Planet has done. And they've actually signed an MOU with Lafarge. And Lafarge is a huge cement maker. And I won't go into too much depth because it'll take up too much time, but they are working on creating basically old Roman cement, but a clean version. And they have a whole cyclical business plan that they're finding great success with. Once again, it's a 35 million market cap company, and they're actually doing what they're saying they're going to do. And they're able to create a cement that is going to solve a number of issues regarding fly ash, and being able to recycle glass and use that with some proprietary projects and a pilot plant that they have in coordination with Lafarge and things like that. Those are huge press releases that they don't get out there. They don't kind of get seen, but they're these major themes that people want to see the solutions. And when they do see, holy smokes, someone's really taking a bite out of this cement issue, and they're really shown that data, I think then we're going to see a lot of interest in companies like that.
I think you've hit on a really interesting point when it comes to decarbonization, where we tend to see the onus kind of put on the individual, like, did you buy your electric vehicle yet?
Yeah.
And these large industries like cement, like you've been talking about, kind of get ignored, and we don't think about that 8%. So any further thoughts on that area?
Well, I mean, my first question was, well, how come companies like this weren't trying to solve this issue before? And the answer was they didn't have to. There was no big pressure, but that pressure is on now. So, you have to remember that governments make big decisions. And of course, bigger bodies have bigger decisions, but it isn't until the hammer starts really coming down. And we see it in mining with ESG and whatnot, but they're seeing it now in the cement industry. And there's a bigger demand to say, listen, you guys are an emitter here. What's the solution? So they're scrambling now to see who can we partner up with or who has technology. And that's where a company like Progressive Planet has attracted Lafarge, and they signed this MOU, and that has gone largely unrecognized in the market. And once again, not concerned, but it just shows that bigger companies are paying attention and they're starting to do the right thing. And this process is now underway. The solutions are coming. And for me, we can all recognize the problems, and we can look just at the news. We can look outside the door. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of stress. And I could spend all of my time worried about that doom and gloom. I prefer not to, because if I look at specific companies that are making big deals, making big MOUs with huge companies that are actually creating the solutions, that's a lot more optimistic. I feel a lot more energetic. I'm not focused on the problems all the time. We're focused on the solutions. And that just makes, the week a little bit more exciting, a little bit happier, because you're focused your whole intention on funding and working with people that are creating the solutions that we're going to need.
I think that's a really good mindset to have. You're looking longer term. That gives you the ability to be a little bit more positive than if you're looking on the daily or the weekly. So really good to hear that from you. Are there any other points that you would want to share with the audience right now, things you're seeing in the markets?
The only other one that really it stands out, and it's something that, I mean, people will kind of think, wow, that's right out of left field, is versus AI. I mean, without any doubt, AI is more than just a buzzword. 5 years it came out, but it kind of was underwhelming, but we're seeing huge progression now. And I think, as far as not only a philosophical conversation with people, and once again, it's something we do with our subscribers, is looking at the moral implications, what this could look like, is looking at these companies and their thesis as to who actually creates the technology moving forward in these 7-year cycles. Versus AI has a very strong thesis, and they just put out, they're specialized in artificial intelligence, and they announced a breakthrough with AI with their first, they're calling it GIA, General Intelligent Agent. And it's going to be a very interesting, I guess you could call it an app or a bot that's going to be coming out. It's going to change the world. I mean, everyone knows that AI is going to be the big significant mover. It's got lots of pros and cons with it, that's for sure. But it was one that really motivated us to look at, and to that was outside of our wheelhouse, that we saw as having potential that is truly immense. And once again, they work with like Dr. Carl Friston, who's an advisor, who has been the most cited neurologist out there. They are coming up with incredible algorithms and models for not only cognitive thinking, but for how AI can work. That is truly impressive. And I think we're going to see, not only with the products that they have, because they're already generating revenue, is that this is a company that is on that forefront of change, where you don't have to just go by Google or Amazon or a huge company like billions and billions of dollars that has, in part of their wheelhouse, an AI department. This is a pure play AI where, once again, small market cap, but what they've been doing and what they've been able to amass and the talent they've been able to attract is quite impressive, and has kind of flown under the radar to some extent.
Okay, I think that's a really good point, because when we saw, ChatGPT and OpenAI start trending a couple of months ago, I think people looked at it and thought, okay, how do I get exposure to that? And you can, in a roundabout sort of way, but then you're also buying into the larger company in general. So interesting to find a smaller pure play company. The other point I wanted to make on AI, I think it's definitely here to stay, but people may feel a little bit uncomfortable with that. I know when I'm looking at it, I'm trying to think about, okay, how can this help me in my life? How can this make me better? And that's how I'm trying to approach it. So any advice for people who might feel still a little bit hesitant to allow that into their life?
Well, I mean, I'm coming to terms with it too. The more I look at it, the more excited I get, but also the more cautious I get. And believe me, there's bigger, brighter minds out there that are warning us, but also encouraging us. So it adds to the chaos for people, because it's part of this change that is, it brings up a lot of emotion, because it is troublesome, but it's going to change everything. And if I just focus, and not to be ignorant, but just focus on the positive, is that it's going to get to a point, and not, I would say, not too distant future, where you could literally just go in and you've got your visual AI. You can tell it to create an image or an animation of the following story, say a 2 or 3 minute music video. You can go to the music generator, create a song like something else, do tons of rotations of it, computational changes of it, and then match it towards each other. And you could literally do that, making music videos within an afternoon. So you could have content creators creating, somewhere down in the future, feature-length films, you name it, and they're not actually creating. They're literally using bots to continually just crank out dialogue, scenes, visual images, you name it. So on the plus side, you think of all the content that could come out there that will be likable, because they have so much data on what people respond to, not only in kind of visuals, but also on the sound range that we have. It's going to be very impressive, to say the least, and it would give people that are going to lose a lot of jobs a way to be creative still and still make money, because the market will be enormous. You'll have the whole world market. So there's a lot of plus side, but at the same time, say with these this GIA, this visual kind of assistant that you'll have, it'll map out your whole day for you. Like, you can tell it to call and set up meetings. You can tell it to go do whatever you want. That assistant, that GIA, will take on a whole new world if things go at the rate we're going. It'll get to know you. That's the big difference between, say, your typical ChatGPT, which looks at data from 2020 and the past, to something that will get to know you and anticipate and try to feel what's best for you. And that's the big difference between a true AI and something that's machine learning. And that's what a lot of these companies are striving towards, is having this interaction between you and this artifact, whatever you want to call it, a bot or a program or an algorithm, that is going to be curious about you. It's going to know your habits. And the more data you share with it, the more you reveal to it, the more it's going to get to know you, maybe even better than yourself, which also is exciting, but also is disconcerting. So I balance out the positives with the negative. But if I just focus on the positive, it's so unique. It's very exciting. And you can see where this could go. And of course, when I say could, we have to focus on the privacy aspect. If people have access to keep it private for themselves and who they want to share with, I think that would go a long way to easing people's concerns.
I think 100%. There's so many things that we're going to have to learn as we move forward with AI in the world. I think, Andrew, that's all that I have for you today, unless you had any final thoughts that you wanted to add.
No, that's wonderful. And thanks for spending so much time. It was quite a conversation. We wanted to get a lot out there.
We did. I think we went through everything pretty quickly, but also fairly thoroughly. So thank you for joining me. It was great to go through this with you.
Thanks again, Charlotte. I really appreciate it. And hopefully have a beautiful spring.
Of course. Thank you so much. Once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and this is Andrew O'Donnell with the Market Mindset.